So I want to give you a little insight on my journey and how I got to this place where I am today doing soul regression. So my grandfather died at my 16th birthday, and then my grandmother gave me a book called Life Everlasting. Well, that book changed my life forever. Because after reading that book, I was so fascinated with the afterlife and the afterworld, and I have such a curious mind that I couldn't get enough information about the afterlife. So I just started to read everything I could get my hands on pertaining to the spirit world. And I was especially fascinated with the spirit world because I love to see where the soul goes and what we do after. And so that's one of my favorite things that I love to do in my sessions is help people explore the spirit world and what happens after we die. But little did I know back then that this would be my profession today. Because, and it's really interesting or amazing how these little steps in your life as you're going through, you don't understand it until you get to the place you are right now. And right now, I look back and it makes me know that every little step that I took in my life has gotten me here and prepared me for this exact moment right here and right now. And I was guided to do QHHT, quantum healing hypnosis technique, after my husband was diagnosed with lung cancer. And I knew that we had the ability to heal ourselves, but I wasn't really sure how we were able to do that. But I wanted to find out. So I went on a quest to find the answers to some of these questions. And I researched my little heart out, believe me, just looking for different things. I read all kinds of books. I watched so many YouTube videos. My mind was expanding so quickly that nothing was beyond reality or beyond my realm of possibility for me. And I love the old saying that when the student is ready, then the teacher appears, because so many times I was just learning about something or just asking about something, and then bam, somebody would pop into my life with the answers, or I would have a book just come into my awareness, or I'd watch a YouTube video that really helped me just move beyond where I was. So my teachers just kept coming. And then during my search, I came across Michael Newton's books, Journeys of the Soul and Destinies of the Soul. And I found these books so fascinating with all the information that they had inside about the connections to the other side and the conversations. The conversations were what I found most amazing because I loved them, but it just stirred something inside of my soul. So I went looking for more books like these because I just wanted more. My soul was just craving more. So in my search, I came across Dolores Cannon's books, and I came across the one that is Between Death and Life. And then I was so amazed at the conversations and the connections that she had with her clients. And I thought, oh my gosh, I love this. And I loved learning about all the different places in the afterlife and the spirit world. And I was curious about the healing temple, and there's a tapestry room, and there's a library, and this is where your book of life is kept. So after each lifetime, you actually go into the library, the Akashic Records they call it as well, and then you record what you experienced in that lifetime, what you set up to learn, and then also what you experienced and how that life went. And we'll talk a little bit more, and I'll share a lot more videos on some of these experiences that other people have had. And then you can go into the life review room, which is amazing because you go into this room and it's like, from what everybody has told me, it's like a screen, movie screens all the way around you, 360 degrees around, and every one of those screens is playing different scenes from your life, but you're aware of every one of them. Even behind you, everything is just going on all at once, but you're able to understand all of the concepts. So I love the review room, and typically they go into the review room to review a life after it's been experienced. But you also go into this room when you're getting ready to prepare for a life, because you go into this room and you're able to look at the parents or siblings, and you pick your parents. And I know a lot of people don't understand that concept, because a lot of people I've talked to, they say, I would never pick my parents, but you do. And the reason you pick your parents is because you have certain lessons that you want to learn. And so you pick the particular parents that are going to help you learn those lessons. So anyway, I just love the stories that come out of this, these sessions. And then I started watching all of Dolores Cannon's videos on YouTube just because I needed to know more. And since then, I've read all 19 of her books, and her books are so amazing and they're so mind-blowing. You really have to, it twists your brain. You have to really be open to receive it all. I haven't quite gotten my mind around a lot of it, but it's pretty dang amazing. Anyway, during my research, I also discovered that she taught her method to different practitioners all over the world. And at that point, I knew I was born to be one of them. Because it's funny how the universe works, because a few years earlier, my husband had had a stroke. And after he had his stroke, we lost everything. And I had to move in with my younger sister. And I remember having a conversation with her one day and said, you know, if I had the perfect job, it would be being able to sit down and talk to people soul to soul. And what an amazing opportunity that would be. And I just remember this conversation so clearly. But I also remember saying, but how am I ever going to make that happen? Because without having to go back to school for 6, 8 years, you know, which I didn't want to do anyway. But little did I know that I was really setting the manifestation up for myself to create this perfect job. So, and now, mind you, I did have an amazing job at the time, and I used to tell everybody I have the best job in the company. So I was a corporate leadership trainer, and I used to travel around a lot, and I would teach leadership skills. And I loved my job. So it's not like I was dissatisfied with my job and I was looking for something. But I always knew and I always felt like there was still something missing. And I remember going into class one day and thinking, I just felt empty. I felt like, God, I have this amazing job, but I'm here today and I feel like there's something else I need to be doing. But I didn't know what it was. It was like I just had a bigger purpose. Anyway, after I made the decision to learn QHHT, my next hurdle was finding the money. So after my husband's stroke, we lived with my sister for 3 years during his rehabilitation. And we had just moved out of my sister's place and we were just getting ourselves back on our feet when my husband was diagnosed with the lung cancer. So every penny was being pumped into his care. And so I had no extra money lying around anywhere. But I remember 6 months earlier, that I had had a conversation with a cousin of mine, and I was just crying on her shoulder about all the woes that, you know, how stressful it is and the money is tight. And, you know, at the end of my visit with her, she handed me an envelope, and inside the envelope was money. But I told her I didn't want her money. I just needed to vent a little, and that's all I needed her for. But she said, just take it. And so I did. I took the money and I went home and I just threw it in a drawer, you know, and I thought, well, maybe I'll need it someday. So I just, it's amazing. This is how the universe works, because this particular day I remembered 6 months earlier that my cousin had given me that envelope. So then I went into the drawer, I pulled it out the drawer, and I pulled out the envelope out of the drawer. And when I opened up the envelope, it had the exact amount of money that I needed for the QHHT course. So I was like, it's just so amazing how spirit works, because the universe will provide for us. We just have to set the intention and put it out there when we want something, and it manifests. And it's amazing how that works. So anyway, I was able to complete my QHH training in January of 2015. And I took off running right away because I loved it so much. And, you know, I had to do my first 25 clients, and I just couldn't do them fast enough. I just kept wanting to do them. And the first couple was, you know, a little stressful. I didn't know if I was doing it right. It took me a while to, you know, what do I say here? And, you know, but soon after I started hearing people say that I was doing devil's work. And I thought, oh my gosh, because after a while, people started having these amazing healings going on and just realizations, and it was so powerful. And I thought, well, how can this be devil's work if all this beautiful stuff is coming out of it? But anyway, I questioned myself, and then I had to work through all of this religious programming that I had in my mind too. And I had to do a lot of soul searching and reading and discovering for myself to find my own truth, because it's important that we all find our own truth. Anyway, so we all have become so complacent in life that we just kind of accept what's being handed down to us and what's laid out for us. But now the world that I had once known now was being turned upside down with my husband's illness, and I'm just searching, and I questioned everything, and I researched more and more, and then I watched so much YouTube during that time, and YouTube videos. I couldn't get enough information. I was reading all kinds of books, and I wanted to work my craft, but I needed to come to an understanding within myself and feel like this was the right thing to do. So I had to break down my religious programming until I knew, and I mean really knew, that I knew I was on the right track and I was doing the right thing. But I had to ask myself, during that process, how does this make me feel? And I really had to kind of go within and go with, how do I feel? Does it make me feel? Does it feel right that I'm doing this? And so when you become a seeker, and the whole world opens up to you, because your whole perception of the way the world works and the way the world runs it's an eye-opening experience. That's about all I can say. So anyway, I started listening to my body, my intuition, and I started following my own inner compass, because I didn't want to be controlled or guided by everybody else's perception anymore. And so once I worked through some of my own stuff, then I knew I was on the right path. And then there's no turning back. At that point, I knew that I couldn't turn around, because you cannot shut a door once it's been opened, because you've already let everything out. So anyway, I was not turning back. So once the awakening starts, can't shut it off. Believe me, I tried. Anyway, I knew I couldn't stay living in the world with my blinders on that I had been for so long. But I finally knew that what I was charted to do was this work. And so I knew that I was on the right path. And so after doing QHHT for about 9 months, so I had a client who had a difficult time getting into that deepening gateway and couldn't relax. And he kept telling me he wanted me to do sessions like Aurelio Mejia's regressive sessions. And he has several videos on YouTube. And he kept telling me about his videos. And I finally just told him, I says, I just do QHHT, and that's all I do. Now, Aurelio Mejia's sessions are all done in Spanish. Well, I don't speak Spanish, so there's no way I could really learn what he was doing anyway. So when I told him I only do QHHT, he was kind of okay with that, and he left. Well, about a month later, he called me up again, and he asked me to go to lunch. And so he and I went to lunch, and during lunch, he kept asking me, he says, I really want you to try again. I want you to try doing Aurelio Mejia's method on me, but I'll sit with you, and and we can go through it together. Because I reminded him I don't speak Spanish. I don't know. And he kept saying, I'll sit with you and interpret. And I'm like, that it just didn't sound like something that I really wanted to do. Because I don't speak and I don't understand Spanish. As much as I want to learn, I don't know it. So anyway, he left. And then after he left, I thought, I think Spirit is guiding me that I need to learn how to do this kind of method too. So I thought, okay, I'm being guided, so I'm going to learn this method. So what I did is I called Alba Wyman, because at the time she only had maybe 10 videos up at the time, but I liked what she was doing, and a lot of what she was doing was the same thing that Aurelio Mejia's method was doing. So I had called Alba and asked her, how she learned to do what she was doing, because we're both QHHT practitioners, and I know that they didn't teach us a lot of what she was doing in QHHT. So what she did is she connected me with Antonio Sangio. And Antonio Sangio had been working with Aurelio Mejia, and he had been working with Alba and Antonio. And then Aurelio gave Antonio permission to teach his type of regressive hypnosis sessions in English. And so Antonio gave me some really good pointers, so did Alba. And then I was fortunate enough to attend Antonio's very first introspective hypnosis class. And I loved it because I'll tell you what, I learned so much. And it's like every little class that I take after, it teaches me more and more. And it's so amazing how the universe works here too, because as soon as I got back from my training on that modality, my very first client after that training was, I mean, it pushed my skills to the limit, because that training teaches you how to work with attachments and dark energies. And so, you know, dark energies and attachments don't scare me. And I had learned this skill. As soon as I learned the skill, I go home and I have clients that now have those attributes, and I'm able to help them. And so I'm definitely being guided. And I just want people to know that, excuse me, I couldn't do this by myself. So my spiritual team is with me and by my side the whole time during this whole process, because I know that I couldn't do this on my own. And I've been told in many sessions how they are guiding me and they're helping me, and they plant thoughts in my mind. They plant questions that I need to ask to help guide along. I'm very, very good at asking those questions, but they really take it to the next level. And I know that they're always with me. Um, so anyway, after a while, I began looking to expand my skills even further. And because I have been gifted with healing energy in my hands. So I wanted to be able to use that gift during some of my sessions while I was guided. Well, QHHT is a beautiful process, but you're not able to utilize all of your skills in the session because you can't touch your clients, and you can't do anything online. And QHHT is a beautiful process, but I knew that I needed to expand beyond that at some point. So I needed a modality that had a little more flexibility to be able to touch my clients and be able to use all the gifts that I have in my toolbox. And that's when I came across BQH. And BQH is beyond quantum healing. And this modality allows me to use all of my gifts from God, from source, from the universe, whatever you want to call it, because I am a conduit for the light, and I want to be able to do what I can to help my client achieve their full potential. And whatever is needed during the session, I want to be able to use all of that. QHHT is an amazing method. BQH is also, and so is introspective hypnosis. And through all three combination of those, I have what I call soul regression, because I'm able to use aspects of all three of those. So I want to help you remember your greatness, because you are all great and you're all so much more than what you see in this physical body. We're so much deeper than this. And I just want everybody to know. And you know what? There are over 7 billion people on this planet, which means that there are over 7 billion truths. So during these sessions, I'm sharing my truth and what I've learned on my journey through these soul regressions and through this awakening process. And my hope for you is that you will continue to be a seeker and find your own truth. And whatever resonates with you, take from this session or this video what works for you, what doesn't, disregard it. But do your own research, find your own truth. I love you all. Namaste. Thank you.